Welcome to Meeting in Middle America, our new podcast here at the Lubar Entrepreneurship Center at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. I'm your host, Steven Olikara, and I'm also founder and president of the Millennial Action Project. We thought we'd kick things off by talking with our hosts here at the Lubar Center. So we'll hear from the director, Brian Thompson, as well as from the professor of mechanical engineering and director of the Innovation Core program here, Ilya Avdeev. I'm going to speak with them about getting the center off the ground and what that's meant to the community. And then we'll also speak about the important role of entrepreneurship in the Rust Belt, entrepreneurship across different sectors and across different disciplines. And we'll talk about what that means to the entire country, why people need to pay attention to the entrepreneurship ecosystem here in the Midwest. Hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to the show. I'm Steven Olikara, and we are here in the brand new facility for the Lubar Entrepreneurship Center at UW-Milwaukee. And I'm thrilled to be joined by the director, Brian Thompson. Now, Brian has been the fearless leader and visionary of pulling this whole center together, and I had the chance to be here for the grand opening back in, was it May?
Yep.
Yeah, so the center has been, I think, just a huge boost to the campus. But Brian, I'd love to hear from your standpoint, what is the Lubar Entrepreneurship Center and what's the vision for it here on campus?
Well, we're glad to have you here, and you give me a lot of credit, but there's a lot of people that pitched in to make this possible, including the Lubar family. We're, of course, deeply grateful. At its core, we want to improve the success of UWM students. We believe that whatever your chosen area of discipline, engineering, business, arts, architecture, there's a set of entrepreneurial skills that all students should have. And our goal is to give that to all 27,000 UWM students.
Got it. Excellent. And now this campus is really an anchor for the community. So where do you see the role of the Entrepreneurship Center and the need to build an entrepreneurship ecosystem? How do you see that impacting the campus community as well as the community of Milwaukee?
We clearly have work to do in Milwaukee and Wisconsin.
Yeah.
But I'm really pleased that in the last decade, we've seen a lot more things coming together. There's a growing entrepreneurial ecosystem. Universities should be a strong part of that, and UWM is that part in Milwaukee, along with our sister institutions. So we need to be a part of that ecosystem. The Lubar Entrepreneurship Center has links with a lot of the other things happening in the community, but we also want to make sure that the talent that comes out of the university is feeding that whole ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things we were just talking about is the journey of even creating this center. I mean, you are an entrepreneur in yourself, in your own right. And so tell us about your own personal journey to becoming an entrepreneurial person, and what led you to this type of work?
I started my career as an engineer building communication satellites, and then I moved more into the business side, working with some early stage companies, first in California, but then back here in the Midwest. The vision for the Entrepreneurship Center was born about 8 years ago. Building on programs that we've had in our Lubar School of Business for a long time, we were looking for a campus-wide approach that allowed many students to engage in entrepreneurship. So we started with the programming, and we built programming over a period of years, and then that really shaped our vision for what the center should be.
Yeah, totally. And you mentioned the campus-wide approach. I think one of the most interesting aspects of the center is it's not in the School of Business. Yep. It's meant to serve the entire campus community. So I imagine that means you want artists to be entrepreneurs, you want doctors to be entrepreneurs, you want engineers. So tell us about how did that idea come about first, and then second, how do you see that playing out in terms of really being kind of an interdisciplinary center? And what types of entrepreneurs unexpectedly do you think that might create?
It's interesting. We have, you mentioned artists, we have the Peck School of the Arts, and we've actually found that a lot of the students that engage in our entrepreneurship programs are out of the Peck School of the Arts. And we've had them out of nursing and health sciences and business and engineering. And so in the early years of that Startup Challenge program, we really recognized and demonstrated the need across campus. We don't think that all students should necessarily go start a company or want to when they graduate, but believe that the skills they're learning here at UWM and in the entrepreneurship programs we have here will make them more successful, whatever their chosen discipline.
Right. And so tell us, I mean, you've had a number of students coming in through the programs here. Tell us about one of the more unexpected types of entrepreneurial projects you've come across that you think embodies really the values of this program and some of the interesting maybe the way I would describe it are unlikely collisions happening at the center.
I guess I'll give you two quick examples. At the faculty level, and UWM is an R1 research institution, so we bring to that whole experience the things that come along with a research institution. So we have two physicists, Maria Gadardziska and Carol Hirschmagel, that launched a company around an advanced material. And they went through our programming, and they now have a very well articulated market hypothesis about where that can be applied. So they, Maria jokes that our programs are turning physicists into capitalists, but really we're trying to make them, to give them entrepreneurial skills to complement what they're doing. So that's at the faculty level. At the student level, I'll come back to the artist example. One of our students, Jared Judge, is a graduate of the Peck School of the Arts with a degree in music conducting. He was also a software coder, and he recognized an opportunity to take the talent in programs like UWM and the music in UWM's music program and link it to the community. So he created Dream City Music, and he scaled that model in different cities. I think he's in 7 or 8 cities now, where people can book a string act leveraging the talent at the local university and their music program.
Wow. And so for an entrepreneurship project like that, what sort of resources are they typically looking for when they have the concept and they come to you or they come to the center? What types of things are they looking for? And then what types of initiatives do you have here at the center to help them kind of scale up?
We're trying to build a range of programs at different levels. So I mentioned our physicists. They took advantage of a program we have called I-Core through the National Science Foundation, where they do customer discovery. Early on, before you decide if it makes sense to launch a company, you got to get out and talk to customers. And that's why a lot of enterprises fail. So I-Core pushes early discovery to test the risky assumptions to figure out if they should proceed. In the case of our musician, Jared Judge, he was in our Startup Challenge. We wrapped some services around him, linked him in with our app brewery, but also linked him in with the community. And he's done a great job of leveraging that broader community that we're a part of to go on to do great things.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the big, I think, national stories right now is how the economy is being disrupted in the Midwest, in the Rust Belt. You have a lot of manufacturing jobs that are increasingly automated. And so how do you think a center like this plays into the larger national story? There was a study that showed that since 1980, virtually all net new job creation has come from startups under the age of 5. How do you, and there was also a tour that Steve Case, the co-founder of AOL, has been pushing called Rise of the Rest, which is how do you build entrepreneurship ecosystems outside of Silicon Valley, New York, and Boston. So how do you see the future of entrepreneurship impacting the larger community, not just here in Milwaukee, but other Rust Belt cities like Milwaukee? And then what sort of things do you think will be a game changer, a real catalyst to make these ecosystems thrive?
Well, I can say that one of the core ideas here is entrepreneurial thinking.
Yeah.
As I said, not everyone will go on to launch a company, but we're trying to give people some skills in looking at opportunities and identifying and de-risking ideas early. And so we think that will make people more successful as they go out. And also, the world's going to look very different in 5 and 10 years. It's changing even faster than it did when I graduated. And so I think those skills will help make our graduates and the people in our community more successful because they need to be adaptable. You talked about the changing, jobs, the landscape for jobs, and so we need to give people skills to make them adaptable because it's going to keep changing even faster and faster. And we'd really be remiss if we didn't give our graduates skills to make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, again, we're here at the Lubar Center for Entrepreneurship. Brian, thank you so much for being with us on the show, but also thank you for your leadership here at the center and here in the community. I think it makes a big difference. Welcome back. I'm Steven Olikara here at the Lubar Entrepreneurship Center, a brand new facility at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. And I'm thrilled to be joined by Ilya Avdeev, who is the Director of Innovation here at the Lubar Entrepreneurship Center. Thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. So first of all, tell us more about your personal journey. Where are you from? Where did you grow up? And then what brought you here to the center?
Sure, yeah. How much time we have? So I grew up in St. Petersburg, Russia, and I graduated from a pretty good engineering school and then moved to US to continue my graduate school at the University of Pittsburgh. And then I stuck in Pittsburgh for a few more years, got a pretty good job at the engineering software company. And 10 years ago, I joined UWM as an associate professor of mechanical engineering. And about 7 years ago, I met Brian. Well, I met him actually long before. Brian Thompson, who you spoke to as well. And and Brian and I kind of like started this journey of building up entrepreneurial ecosystem and capacity at UWM.
Absolutely. So when you were growing up in St. Petersburg, Russia, did you know where Milwaukee was? Had you heard of it?
Not really.
Okay.
I heard of Harley Davidson. That's about it.
Yeah.
So I didn't know much about Milwaukee.
And coming to a city like Milwaukee, what was your perspective on how entrepreneurship was developing in the city?
Yeah, so when I came here, I was focused on research and my academic career. But I realized that there's, first of all, I realized that being a faculty at the research university, you are an entrepreneur, you just don't know it.
Right.
You actually have to do a lot of things that founders of startups do.
You have to raise your own grants, right?
You have to raise your own grants, you have to hire, you have to chart your path forward, and there's no business model that's written for you. So you have to actually create your own research model for your lab and for your program. So that was kind of natural, shift from what I was doing in the lab towards actually realizing that we need this more for others, for students and for faculty as well.
Excellent. And now one of the things I think you focus on here is design thinking. So first of all, what is design thinking for everyone who's tuning in right now? And how can an entrepreneur benefit from design thinking?
Right. So design thinking is a collection of principles and methods that is used by not just designers, even though it kind of grew from the design world, but problem solvers. And what it allows you to do is to focus on the user, on the human in the center of the problem you're trying to solve. And by doing that, you empathize with your end user or customer. You understand what they need. Sometimes they cannot articulate it, right? So you have to really figure it out. You frame the right design problem, and you create a team, multidisciplinary team to solve it, which is very important because creative ideas come from very diverse teams.
Right.
So if you think about it, it's pretty much what a founder needs to do, right? They need to understand their customer, so they need to get close to them. They need to discover them, they need to interact with them, they need to understand their day, they need to understand, what their motivations are.
Right.
In order to predict what product or service you will deliver to them. Yeah. And then you have to build a team around you that will deliver it.
Got it. What would be a good example of that, of someone who you've come and worked with who really effectively used design thinking?
Good question.
Yeah.
So we try to teach design thinking to all Student Startup Challenge participants. So these are the student entrepreneurs who try to realize their ideas.
Got it. And that's an entrepreneurship challenge here at the university.
Yeah, Student Startup Challenge is a program specifically geared towards students. And we basically give them a very quick introduction to design thinking and quick pop-up workshops, empower them with these skills, and then they apply them. They kind of become, the keyword here is not design, the keyword is thinking. So they start thinking like designers and they become more empathetic.
Right, right. One of the, I think, maybe most famous examples of design thinking would be Steve Jobs, who developed the design for Apple computers and even the font at the intersection of engineering and the humanities, design and technology. Do you feel like the young people who are coming through UW Milwaukee, who are coming through the Entrepreneurship Center, have this kind of cross-disciplinary mindset? Is that something that's innate in their own mind, or do you think that's something that really needs to be taught?
So some students are natural at that, but more students need to be taught. So we need to create these conditions where they can get exposure to this kind of cross-disciplinary thinking, ways of thinking.
Right.
So it doesn't happen natural for like if you don't set the certain conditions.
Yeah, and I imagine one of the things you have to do is create these intentional spaces for people of different disciplines to come together. So do you have workshops, happy hours? I'm sure you have a number of different things. How do you create those collisions?
Right. So we have those spaces, but they're not designed for intentionally for that. So we have library, right? But it's kind of quiet space.
Yeah.
Everyone's there from different disciplines, but they don't interact with each other. We have the union, where interactions happen, but they're not channeled or guided towards certain goal.
Yeah.
So the Lubar Entrepreneurship Center is where you have this same kind of like opportunity for students to enter easily, right? There's no barriers. There's a coffee shop, it's a walk-through kind of facility, it's wide open. But once they're here, they feel the intention of the space and that there's, it's helping them jump into action and immediately start like working on either their ideas or their startups or whatever they're trying to work on.
Right, right. Now, one of the big initiatives you're working on is iCore. So tell us more about that and who can participate.
Sure. Anyone can participate who is affiliated with 5 research institutions in Milwaukee, academic institutions. So UWM, Marquette, MSUE, Medical College, and Concordia.
Oh, fantastic.
So you can be a faculty, student, a staff member. You have an idea for a startup, and it has to be related to something that National Science Foundation would fund. So technology, education.
Sure.
Come to us, and we will run you through a rigorous 4-week workshop where it's experiential workshop. You'll have to go out and conduct 40 customer interviews and revise your business model. So at the end, you produce a business model, very kind of like low resolution, but grounded in evidence. So, you're trying to find the product market fit, at least like hints of product market fit. So who are the customers of your service or product, and what problem you're solving for them?
Got it, excellent. Well, that's a great collaboration. Was that hard to bring all the universities together, or was everyone game for it?
Surprisingly, it was easier.
Yeah.
We collaborate on research domain, and because iCore is funded by National Science Foundation, it was a very kind of easy sell,
right?
To them. They kind of like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Excellent. Well, Ilya, thanks so much for joining us. Again, we're here at the Lubar Entrepreneurship Center at University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. Really appreciate everything you do here.
Thank you,
appreciate
Steve.
it. Thank you.